This story is of my own original creation. Please do not use my story, characters, or voice without my permission. And that includes my voice actors as well. Please do not use their voices without their permission. Beginea Tales. The Moon and Night Alone. Where could mischief be hiding? That's what Xavier was thinking as he was walking down the halls at such a tedious time. So eager he was, Xavier leaned his chest a bit forward, his pointy ears perked up to catch the slightest sound, and his eyes wandered every corner as he strode. He needed a cure for his boredom, and instead of taking his reliable medication, Xavier was dedicated to finding a new way to heal his sickness. He was looking for mischief, though it was clearly more complex than just mischief. His type of fun was nuanced. Nuance is everything, Xavier would tell you. There was nothing here. So buttoned up was their lives, it was like suffocating in your own clothes. The great city of Costella had expectations to follow that were treated more like laws for its citizens. Xavier's family were members of the Night Elves, so he was born into its membership. Religion and family are significant to the Knights, so Xavier would have to keep up niceties when attending family matters that held no interest to him, or engage in discourse with others during religious ceremonies. Their conversations were like the quick flowing drinks at every assembly, quick to come and go, and if Xavier had a moment to himself, they'd tell him to branch outside of the Night Elves' expertise and study the stars like the Moon Elves. Xavier had done it all and concluded it wasn't right for him. Everyone else indulged in what they wanted. Why couldn't he have fun? But despite everything Xavier disliked about his rigid routine, he could have fun, if only he was there with him. Why was Xavier depriving himself of the remedy he knew was there? Addiction, Xavier was reminded, as it started to hurt how much he wanted to go to him. There was nothing but glistening painted stars that lined the walls of these empty halls, reminding Xavier how bored he was. Once in a while, he'd pass a stranger, and he made sure to keep his hands always clenched together behind his back and straighten himself. A gentle nod with an insincere smile deflected conversation. He was getting too old to waste his time listening to empty words. As soon as they were out of sight, Xavier leaned back forward, and his neat purple robes wrinkled at the sudden fold as they suffocatingly clung to him. He hated how his body couldn't breathe. If only he could rip off his damned robe and let his stunning uniform show. His uniform fitted perfectly, and it was the wonderful color of the moon. Yes, moon, not white. Dear Laertes was always particularly proper with colors. Laertes. There was nothing but aching in him now. He tried to have some restraint, but denying yourself the preordained in your heart was just foolish. Then again, Xavier loved to pretend to be foolish. It was a long trek, but eventually Xavier came to his door, and upon finding it slightly open, as if expecting someone, Xavier bursted in.
My dear, what a surprise! Won't you properly put those drab robes elsewhere?
Oh, Laertes, you were one to talk. Properly? Sure, Laertes carried himself properly, walked properly, talked properly, and kept his room properly, yet no one would call him proper in their circles. Like Xavier, Laertes was born into the Moon Elves, and he did not care for their expectations, but unlike Xavier, Laertes didn't care to hide it. Despite protests, Laertes would do what he loved, and he carried no shame in it. He wore his custom crafted night uniform in public, flaunting his improperness wherever he went. His pride was contagious. Xavier would never hide who he truly was when his dearest friend was with him. And yes, it was night, not black. Laertes wasn't just pinpoint in his colors, but in his words and ideas. Laertes could talk long like any other, but he never rambled. Xavier answered Laertes by placing his robes neatly in a nearby drawer. Normally, he'd just toss it, but today was a day for doing things differently. Oh, bother, Xavier thought. He would have to remind himself later of it, but it was worth seeing Laertes smile. Laertes invitingly motioned to Xavier's usual seat across from him, and Xavier eagerly sat down. Already Laertes was pouring him a glass of Starry Nights. He always claimed it was only proper to give a guest a drink. Xavier leaned forward in his seat, elbows on his knees, as he found it amusing how slow the pour was. Xavier grew a smirk. I'm not sure if I'd die of boredom or thirst first, Laertes. What do you think?
It's bad practice to pour a drink poorly, my dear.
Laertes stated briefly. Xavier took his glass, holding it by the top dangerously loose to let it sway, and his eyes focused on Laertes. Laertes held his drink firmly and properly by the bottom of the glass as he brought it to his lips. Just as his lips touched the glass and he took a sip, Laertes gave an inconvenienced look to the pitch-black surface of the drink.
This is pitch black, not night. They really should change the name of the spirit.
Xavier felt a pulse of joy at the repetition, then brought his own glass to his lips to gulp down a quarter. Starry Nights was an old moonshine that managed to carry its production up to the present, despite the shifts in taste. It was earthy, and it twinkled burning warmth in your throat. Most would wince, but the two found the taste pleasant. Laertes especially loved it, and always kept a case tightly slotted in his rack of spirits.
Tell me, my dear,
Laertes started. He always started their conversations.
why did I have to wait so long for your felicitous arrival?
I was taking my leisure.
On such an airish day?
Airish? It's frigid, Laertes. Desolately frigid.
Frigid to us, airish to others, I mean. Even a moon elf's sight glistening with the stars can see that today is simply lacking normalcy. You must be famished. After all, your eyes devour any worthwhile sight, and you look hungry.
Xavier smiled, his gaze never leaving Laertes. Nothing but empty plates walk these halls.
The years have grown colder. I'm starving as well. Friends have turned to a scarce commodity as the centuries have gone by. Our society has grown so buttoned up it's choked them out.
And what do you mean by that, Laertes?
There's no room for anyone who doesn't fit into these labels. Dear Williams, centuries ago, left because his ambitious dreams had no place here, and our old society waved him farewell with drinks and blessings. Nowadays, he'd be ridiculed.
Much like Nina.
Ah, the poor woman. But exactly to my point, Xavier. All our precious friends have either left or been forced to stay complacent in our culture's ways. Even the most defiant of them keep their actions buttoned up for the sake of the family. I haven't talked to Ardy in years due to a strangling situation.
The precious prince has been occupied for too long, Xavier murmured. A frown placed on his lips as he thought of how much more lonely he'd gotten. When they were young, Xavier remembered he could roam the halls and find good company. Now that he was in the middle of his life, everyone he had called a friend grew distant or moved on. All he had left was Laertes. Despite the growing emptiness in him, Xavier spoke up with a bit of hope. If they can no longer come to us, why don't we pay them a visit?
That'd be quite the journey. Even seeing Ardy would be a long walk along the road of convincing and formalities. But when has anything stopped us from what we want? I do miss them.
You don't ever miss me.
Xavier! When did I ever say that?
There it was, that cry of his name that he'd managed to squeeze out of Laertes every time. Exactly. You never said to ever miss me, don't you?
My dear, I don't ever need to miss you, for you always seem to delightfully pop in just as I'm about to. My remedy in this fruitless city.
Laertes brought his glass forward in friendly decorum, and Xavier raised his own. The world could grow barren of joy, and time could change all it wanted to, but nothing could change how Xavier and Laertes were satisfied together. It was like Laertes said, here was their remedy. They'd drink for that.
That'd be... Bleh. My dear, I don't ever need... Bleh. Oops.
We're just gonna do all the lines. That the two had ordered together. Or need to redo that line. A frown placed on his lips as he thought of how much he... Fuck! Laertes invitingly motioned to Xavier's usual. I have to get into character a little bit, sorry. Laerish. It's frigid, Laertes. Desolately frigid. I don't know why I didn't yell. It's gonna end it there.